Welcome to 7 Things You Need to Know for this Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. Biden and Trump clinch their nominations, Trump's unforced political error, emergency arms to Ukraine, and the first black U.S. commercial pilot dies. Let's get into it. But before we begin, there's a garment readjustment that we're making. When I go to the White House, I always put on a suit and tie. And here in the studio, I dress in this, but I'm going to change that. Why? Because I went to a school reunion last night. I was picking out a tie, and my wife looked at me and said, "Men don't wear ties any longer." And I said, "But I'm not men." And I grew up wearing ties. I have a few. Let's see. Here's one collection of ties. Another bow tie. I have this collection of ties. 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 Again, they were all neatly hung. Overall, I put them on the scale, about 20 pounds of ties. I've gotten rid of about 80% of them. So let's get into it. I will see you shortly. Now that I showed you this little collection of ties, Leonardo da Vinci and his magnificent flying machine is a great place to start. Number 1, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump have both secured the necessary delegates for their party's nomination for the upcoming November election. This sets the stage for a highly anticipated rematch from their previous election battle. Biden with minimal opposition within the Democratic primaries, and Trump having been the leading candidate for the Republican nomination, have both been preparing for this direct contest. Trump's considerable lead solidified after a significant victory in Iowa this January, effectively diminishing competition from his primary Republican opponents. With Nikki Haley, his last significant challenger, ending her campaign recently, Trump faces a relatively clear path to nomination despite ongoing legal battles. Number 2, Trump's remarks on Social Security and Medicare stir controversy. Former President Donald Trump's comments Monday in support of cuts to Social Security and Medicare spotlight the tension between the conservative policy recommendations and public opinion. Influential right-leaning think tanks like the Heritage Foundation and the Cato Institute have long advocated for reductions in social safety net programs to facilitate further tax cuts. However, these programs enjoy strong support across a wide swath of demographic groups, in making any proposed cuts to them a political third rail in American politics. This stark contrast between Republican policy proposals and populist sentiment has provided Democrats with effective ammunition to challenge Republican talking points. Following Trump's statement, Democrats were quick to highlight the potential impact on popular programs, reminiscent of the backlash against Republican Senator Rick Scott's 2022 proposal to sunset all federal legislation, including Social Security and Medicare. Senator Dick Durbin, the number 2 Senate Democrat, told The Hill that Republican Senator Rick Scott, quote, stuck out his chin with his 2022 call and, quote, got punched for it. Durbin then questioned whether Trump and his party are prepared for a similar backlash in 2024. Number 3, Special Counsel Hur gets a bipartisan grilling. During a rigorous 4-hour session on Tuesday, Republicans and Democrats grilled former Special Counsel Robert Hur, seeking to extract a critique of President Biden's integrity, a comparison with Donald Trump's handling of classified documents, or an acknowledgement of shortcomings in Hur's investigation into Biden's management of sensitive materials. Despite intense probing from the House Judiciary Committee, Hur stood firm. He upheld the findings of his 345-page report issued last month, which suggested President Biden may have inappropriately kept classified materials after his vice presidency ended in 2017, but ultimately found this insufficient to warrant criminal charges. Number 4, House vote today targets TikTok's future in the U.S. In a significant move, the House is poised to vote on legislation targeting TikTok, addressing growing concerns about data privacy and foreign influence. The proposed bill, enjoying broad bipartisan support, would compel TikTok to sever ties with its Beijing-based parent company ByteDance, or face a ban across the United States. This initiative reflects ongoing efforts to mitigate potential national security threats posed by the app, known for its engaging short-form video content. Historically, attempts to restrict TikTok, including a 2020 executive order by President Trump, have faced legal challenges. However, this latest legislative push underscores a bipartisan consensus on the need for action. Proponents of the bill, including Representative Mike Gallagher, a Republican from Wisconsin, and Raja Krishnamurthy, a Democrat from Illinois, argue that TikTok's Chinese ownership represents a significant risk to U.S. national security, potentially allowing for user data exploitation and undue influence over American public opinion. While the bill aims to eliminate foreign control over TikTok rather than enact an outright ban, its implications for the app's operations in the U.S. are profound. Gallagher emphasized the inappropriateness of a major media platform in the U.S. being under the control of a foreign adversary. Number 5. The Biden administration announced on Tuesday its decision to provide Ukraine with $300 million in military assistance, leveraging, quote, unanticipated cost savings to bolster Ukraine's defense, as President Biden's broader funding request faces delays in Congress. This emergency aid package, detailed by National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, includes vital artillery ammunition, anti-armor systems, and anti-aircraft Stinger missiles, among other crucial supplies and spare parts. Significantly, the assistance features medium-range cluster munitions crucial for Ukrainian forces in targeting strategic Russian positions, although officials remain silent on the provision of sought-after long-range munitions. This support arrives as Ukraine's resilience in the prolonged conflict shows signs of strain under the weight of a renewed Russian military push and dwindling armament supplies. Despite a plea from President Biden during his recent State of the Union address for Congress to unlock an additional $60 billion in aid to support to Ukraine, the proposal remains mired in a political impasse within the Republican-controlled majority House. The administration's commitment of over $44 billion in military aid to Ukraine since the onset of the invasion in 2022 underscores the urgency of continued support. Number 6. The Fed's goal of reducing inflation to the pre-pandemic level of 2% seems to be distant. Achieving the final phase of the Federal Reserve's Inflation Reduction Plan is proving to be incredibly difficult, leading some experts to speculate that a 3% inflation rate might become the standard. The latest consumer price data revealed a 3.2% inflation rate for the year ending in February, complicating the Federal Reserve's journey toward its 2% target. Number 7. David E. Harris, trailblazer for black pilots in America, passed away at 89. And that is why I have this flying tie today. David E. Harris, who broke racial barriers as the first black pilot for a major U.S. airline, has died at the age of 89 in Marietta, Georgia. Born in Columbus, Ohio, Harris's journey into aviation began with his enrollment into the Air Force ROTC at Ohio State University, eventually leading to a distinguished career in the Air Force before joining American Airlines. Harris describes his professional trajectory in an American Airlines video.
I stumbled into it through ROTC and went the military route, learned to fly with the military. Flew biggest thing in the world at the time, the B-52s in the military. And after 6.5 years, not really ecstatic about the mission and wanted to continue to fly, I got out and went with American Airlines in 1964.
Throughout his life, Harris remained an advocate for diversity in aviation, with a story encouraging many black pilots to follow his footsteps. Harris's career was characterized by his humility and acknowledgement of the pilots who paved the way for his success. And that's all for today. And if you like this series, then check out these other episodes over here and like, share, and subscribe. And I'd love to see your comments below, as well as suggestions for other topics for me to cover. And I will see you tomorrow.